Ask him if it has pop-outs. Do you know what those are?
Yeah, I'm a deer hunter. Yeah.
Sorry.
Now, back to Steiny and Guru on 95.7 The Game.
I thought you were talking about what the Giants going to do to lead off tonight.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Stay tuned.
We'll find out.
What do you think Steiny's doing?
Steiny?
Not golfing.
Do you want me to be honest?
Yeah, we do all the time.
There's a lot of pubs in London.
Okay, there you get after it.
A lot of pubs.
Yeah.
No, you might be taking his daughter around the camp. No, sorry, she's not in school. She's starting a new job in London. That's what's going on. Yeah, Steiny will be back next week. He is over in London town.
London.
And we're holding it down in the meantime.
Trying to figure out what's going on with the Gigantes.
Yeah, they got 3.5 hours left until the trade deadline is up. Farhan Zaidi is going to speak to the media at 3:30 p.m., so we'll hear from him after the deadline. And, I mean, look.
Ask him the rough question. Send me down there, Evan.
Well, you could go. 3:30, go. The thing about it is, like, do you think the tone for Farhan will, I don't know, be any different than, say, the one that we've heard like the last 2 or 3 years?
You know what? I love that question, and I'm going Marshawn Lynch. Hell yes, because I think the reporters and fans smell blood. And I wonder if this is different, and almost will he be able to Captain America it with his shield to not let people in his world if he is really on the hot seat. But, Evan, I think in life sometimes people can't hide that mechanism. And like I said, I went to the Bay Area Sports Hall of Fame. I had the pleasure of going with Bonte, that ceremony a couple months back, and I watched a guy, he didn't know I was watching him, not work a room. And I've had some people tell me that wasn't his job. Y'all don't know what you're looking at. But, Evan, he just didn't have that pizzazz or sizzle or that outgoing mechanism that, that I feel like people in his line of work and in his job need. And we'll see. I can't wait to see how he operates. Can I call it under pressure, Evan?
Well, I'd like to think so. I'd like to think there's pressure, but your interpretation of them trading Jorge Soler last night was actually there might not be as much pressure as we thought on him.
And do you think that will come up somehow by some of the Bay Area peeps in regard to his job status?
No, I don't think anybody's going to ask about his job security with 54 games left in the season. But in a month or two, or maybe in a week, if they don't, again, they got 12 games against teams below 500.
Man, 12.
So after that, if they go 5-7 or 6-6 even, I do think we'll start to hear more noise from the beat writers about what Farhan Zaidi and his future is going to be in San Francisco. But it's funny you brought that up because, the tone, a lot of people are just sick of his tone. I don't know if his tone was necessarily taken that same way 6 years ago when he talked about the fans.
6 years ago, Evan.
At his initial press conference.
I love this city. I love this area. Whenever the Dodgers came up here to play series, I tried to make the trips because of my affinity for the area and stay in a hotel in Union Square. And I always made a point. I never took the team bus. I'd always walk, from Union Square to the park just to be able to take in the city. And, those last few blocks when you start getting the critical mass of fans in their Giants gear kind of walking into the park, that's a really energizing thing, and it's something that's really special about this city that I don't think you see in every city, in every urban ballpark. For me, given my background, the diversity of the fan base is also really special. I think gives the fan base a real sense of identity that, isn't very close-knit with the city itself. So, that's some of what, I think makes the Giants special and has created a great respect and admiration on my part for the organization.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute.
What?
This is radio.
Go ahead.
People on YouTube and Twitch can see us, powered by First North Cal Credit Union. But you made a face during the middle of that soliloquy.
What's urban? Wow. And I was about to sing his praises because when we heard that before the show, I said, that's what I like. That's what you failed to sell. Because you morphed into the ballpark, the city, and people on the. That's how bad this thing has been. Your job since you've been on it, your tenure here, you morphed in from that. I love that's what you were supposed to sell to Harper and the judges of the world, and you failed there. But Evan, I did not hear the urban part, so I'm gonna throw it to you, partner.
Oh boy,
what did that mean?
I don't know if I'm equipped, but the thing is, when he talked about staying in a hotel in Union Square and walking to the ballpark, I can only assume when he was with the Dodgers or the A's, right? It actually kind of makes sense to me. Now, these are all things you cannot say if you are, the voice or the president of an organization.
Gotcha.
But we all talked about him being like too honest when he referenced how the city's got some, shortcomings.
He did himself no favors.
You reap what you sow, brother.
But 6 years ago, San Francisco and Union Square was very different.
Wow.
So maybe he, as an outsider, has just seen this city go in a direction that, he may not have been a fan of compared to the time where he first got here, and he was too open and honest about it. Again, you cannot say those things if you're the president of baseball operations and it's your job to try and get people to come to you. But actually hearing that again,
wow, Evan,
it kind of makes sense.
But what you just said,
but that's for the dinner table, not for the podium.
No doubt about it. But Evan, I appreciate how you tried to break that down. And you are right. You're on unfortunately, my IG list is Shasky Kids Me. I want to send you guys videos because I want to share stuff and have fun. Yeah. But I have seen some of the city and some changes. So you are right. Initially, when he was with Oakland and the Dodgers, things were a bit different. But, I mean, I can't get away from that zest that he had in regard to glowingly talking about the city and the rich history of the Giants. And after that, maybe it has tainted or waned because all of a sudden now he was the guy that nobody asked him to say it. He gave us excuses, things that sounded like excuses of why he couldn't close said deals. But, Evan, I do got to say this. If you do look at where you're at in this city or where the ballpark is urban, there's something in your mind that feels like you might not necessarily be selling the best of the best. So that could explain to me in closed doors meetings, you may not be the best salesman or the pitch man to try to convince somebody to come to this locale when for the first time I just heard that and it hit me like you sound like you're selling an uphill battle for where you're at and who you're working for, if you allow me to just be honest with you.
No, and I'll get to that in a sec, but I would even dumb it down further past the salesman part of it, because he's talking to the fans. And whether you believe that the city has gone in a certain direction or not, you cannot take that tone and then come out years later and describe the city as being an issue. That's speaking directly to the fans. That's not even the salesman aspect of it or courting free agents. That is telling your fans that love the San Francisco Giants through thick and thin, whether the city is in a recession or an economic boom, that have been here since, to our caller's point, from the 1960s, since they got here in the 50s. They have been all in on this team, and you have told them that their city essentially is not what it was from when you got here. Well, sure, the city has its own problems.
Right.
That's not your concern. Your concern is the team. And so to blame or kind of insinuate
I love it.
that the city's direction is inherently tied to the direction of your ball club, that to me is a little over the line.
No doubt.
That's not in your pay grade. Chapman said it the other day. I don't get paid to make decisions in the front office. Farhan Zaidi doesn't get paid to make decisions about the city. So don't comment on that when you're talking to your fan base, when you're trying to inspire confidence. Whether you feel that way is one thing. To voice it publicly is out of bounds.
Yeah, I love that, Evan. And also, if you let me add, insulting too, at the minimum. But from the 49er writer on the YouTube chat, Farhan knows how to get the job, Evan. He just doesn't know how to do the job. And maybe it takes somebody, I don't know how many years this thing is going to continue if they don't make it and he still, that would be just a downer, right? Going into the offseason. Like, what does one have to do? There's got to be some standards. There's got to be, what word am I looking for? Accountability. And this guy has proven that up until this point in these last 54 games, I keep saying that, it'll be 53 after tonight. If they can't get in the playoffs, that's when I'll really say if he keeps his job, the Giants are ran by a faceless ownership that doesn't give a rat's behind about the on-field product.
If they don't make the playoffs, I do think we're going to see Arthur Miller.
Oh, Wow.
Death of a salesman.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a 4.
That's what we're going to see.
That's awesome. I would thought you heard that.
Farhan's 80 is going to be gone. But I don't want to get to that point yet because, look, again, they could still potentially turn this around. But the point of it all is that it does come down to today in many ways, because I think that the tone that they have a chance to set at the deadline, it's already been set a little bit, that can change the direction. Like, we've seen teams make moves, right? I'll just go down some of them. Right. Jazz Chisholm to the Yankees. Isaac Paredes to the Cubs, who are behind the Giants, by the way. Zach Eflin, along with Trevor Scott, who just got traded to the Baltimore Orioles. Randy Arozarena is now a Seattle Mariner. He's going 7 for 13 in his first 3 games. He's got a home run. Yusei Kikuchi is traded to the Houston Astros for a bevy of prospects. Like, there are players that have been moved that, while they might not be, the next coming of Eddie Murray, they're very good players. The Giants still have a chance to go get good players. And that's why, in a long-winded way, pay off the tease that I was talking about last segment.
Oh, here we go.
The guy who should be replacing Jorge Soler is a guy that you will see hit if he's not traded by the end of the deadline for the Oakland A's, and that's Brent Rooker. That's the guy that I would want to see replace Jorge Soler at DH, because I don't think he's that expensive. I think he's productive, and he also fits into Farhan Zaidi's timeline, being under contract through next year. So all of those things, again, Brent Rooker is not Roger Hornsby, but he is a very, very good hitter. He's the best DH in the AL.
More homers than Soler.
And right now you need a DH.
Man.
And I think you could get him for a relatively cheap price.
Now, you know what, Evan? You got me, or you convinced me to where I'm lightweight excited. Like, that could be a feasible name come 3 o'clock if we heard the Giants got him, because everything that we're talking about, or diehard fans are hoping and praying for, is to get into the wild card. And 2 days ago, yesterday, all we were talking about is the plus button on the calculator. You want them to add, and you go ahead and trade away a guy that in his career has hit 38 home runs and has been on the biggest of stages. So you can't afford Soler the luxury to try to let a brother work it out 54 more games. My fear is, Evan, if what you get, something has to go wrong, because Rutgers in a bad situation. So it's not like he's done anything. He's handled his business on the field.
They've been swindled multiple times the last few years.
No doubt about it. But, man, I just don't think, if it's not him, what could you really get that would get you more excited than Soler, who looked like he was coming out of it? That's why the timing of Soler's disappearance or his tenure coming to a close is like, really? Now? And I get it's the deadline, but he's been showing a pulse.
Well, and that's why, I don't know, 888-957-9570. I don't know if you think that the Giants are done. Nobody would be happy if they're done, but I almost feel like them making another, sideways move would kind of incite people more, which is, okay, so here are the targets that are out there. These are the names that have been connected to the Giants at one point or another. Right. The guy I just mentioned, Brent Rooker, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., although I don't think the Blue Jays are going to move him. Luis Robert, we talked about yesterday. I think he's a damn good player. Josh Lau for the Tampa Bay Rays. Right. And then Bo Bichette. Those are all names that have been linked to the Giants at one point or another.
I'll take every one, Evan.
I would too. But the guy that it feels like they're going to get stuck with is Kevin Pillar.
Wow.
Or Cedric Mullins. And those players are not bad baseball players, but they're nobody that is going to come in and save your season, which is kind of what Farhan feels like he needs to do.
Or, again, if nothing pops off by 3 o'clock, Evan, victory lap in the process, maybe his job is not, he's not fighting for his job. So what I want to know is, if you were to facilitate a trade and get one of the guys you just mentioned, what are you giving up to get him? You know what I mean? Because what did you say in the morning? And that's my line. In order to get something in this world, you got to give up something.
You do.
So what do the Giants have? Because right now, an injured Wilmer Flores and Luciano seem to be the plan, with both those guys together to, replace the production of Soler.
But even that, to me, doesn't sound like much of a plan, because, Flores is going to hit against lefties and he's going to DH against those guys. So that means, Luciano's going to hit against righties? That doesn't really sound like much of a platform for your.
He's been on fire and sack. Evan, if I could go here, I had to just lay that.
God, I mean, I love Sacramento, but the PCL is a hitter's paradise.
No doubt, man.
I hope Luciano comes up and he tears it up. But now we're talking about the shortstop position being Tyler Fitzgerald's. And Tyler Fitzgerald has been
best thing going for the team right now.
Yeah, if Jesus had a bat, he'd be Tyler Fitzgerald the last 13 games.
Good call.
But is that your long-term solution at shortstop? I hope he can be, but I can't depend on that. He's 26 years old and he started to do this. There's a reason why no one has thought much about Tyler Fitzgerald. He got called up and started doing this. He was in Triple-A.
I got you.
He's floated back and forth.
Ride the wave.
So Luciano's not your answer at shortstop.
And he's coming up here with still positionless, basically. To me, that should cost somebody their job. Like, he's coming up here and they're going to stash him. And I get it, Evan. Now it's just a bat. It's not about, oh, man, the next corner outfielder for the Giants or shortstop, the next Brandon Crawford with a bat. That's what he was built up to be for many of the years during this tenure of Farhan. And now he's coming up and we got to stash him, or they got to stash him in the DH. And the reason I bring that up is they haven't figured out or even found a solution to where he can play in the field. Like, that's a botch to the utmost.
Well, there's a lot of long-term solutions they don't have. So the shortstop is a question mark long-term. It also sounds like center field is a question mark because you want to move Ramos to the corner.
Man.
Now, you could say, all right, Jung-Hoo Lee's going to be the guy for the foreseeable future. You have 5 years of control of him. So he's your long-term center fielder. But then, all right, Conforto's coming off the books. Yaz is going to be gone. Do you want to re-sign Yaz and put him in right field? Do you want to move Ramos to right?
I don't.
Have Matos in left? Like, what do you want to do there? Do you want to try and move Luciano to a corner outfield spot?
I would. I thought that was being done last we saw him, and he went to sack. Macramento, I thought he was shagging. Like, why wouldn't that be the first? Hey, put the bat down, brother. We are going to. I know it's not Little League, but come on, Evan. And there are no reports of a position switch or change. Like, that's just maddening to me.
Maybe because he's just not a very good defender. You know, like, just because you can't play shortstop doesn't mean I can just put you in left field. It doesn't mean I can just put you at second base. Maybe he's just not a great defender. And if he's not, that's fine, because his bat was always the tool anyways. But the moment you become a DH, well, that takes that bats away from someone else. And that limits what you're able to do if you're a platoon first team. So look, the Giants are unnecessarily complex. And that's what the trade was yesterday to me. The Jorge Soler and Luke Jackson deal to the Atlanta Braves was just an unnecessarily complex trade to either get yourself off of money, but free some at-bats up for Luciano to have 3 different ways to get nowhere. And that's why I don't see it unless something else happens. And I'm just afraid that thing that's supposed to happen between now and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is also not really going to be an answer to much.
Yeah, I know. I'm right behind you, Evan, but damn, that was profound to me, man. 3 different ways to get nowhere.
This is from the 650, and I hate to break it to you. Evan, the Giants are more likely to acquire Josh Bell. Well, actually, he's gone because he was just signed by the Arizona Diamondbacks after getting DFA'd.
Yeah.
Oh, so he's got a place with a team that's a playoff hopeful. And look, the list is dwindling. You know, and the Giants, I don't think they should be, big buyers because
they bought coming in. That was their deadline. They splurged, and it has not worked. And I know the Lee injury happens, but Evan, the Braves have had injuries, and they're still got a playoff spot to their best player. So, I mean, everybody has a story, right? We cannot just sit here and say these moves from Farhan didn't work because Jung-Hoo Lee got hurt going over there trying to rob, a home run.
Yeah, it was almost a hell of a play,
Everybody has a story. Every team.
Shout out Biggie.
Yeah. Look at my man.
888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings in for Matt Steinmetz with Daryl the Guru Johnson. Again, we're trying to figure this thing out. And it's been...
So are they. I believe on the fly, Evan. I'm sorry.
I actually agree with you. I'd like you to expound on that because I completely agree. I don't think they know what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't feel they had a plan. They're scrapping the plan, and now I feel like there's different agendas. And when I bring up the word agenda, if Farhan is actually, in fact, fighting for his job, why would that trade have gone down, which would take his chances or decrease his chances of making the playoffs? So I don't know who's running what. If somebody is telling Farhan what to do, but as excited as I am about 3 o'clock, I think you said, you correct me if I'm wrong, Evan, 3:30, I honestly, and he can get up there and lie. I know that's strong. I can't wait to hear Farhan talk. What, like,
really?
I really can't. Like, I feel like I got a good mechanism of knowing when somebody's just yapping or giving you the old company line. But Evan, the reporters got a big part in this too. If they ask the right questions, it's kind of like, you think you can do the Jedi mind trick, but our ears are our ears, and we're going to be able to know how you're feeling and how you're dealing, hopefully, come 3:30.
Well, I'm not really looking forward to hearing what Farhan says.
Talk.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Farhan does, because he's talked a lot his last 6 years, and people have talked him up a lot, including one Larry Baer, who right before and at the time Farhan was signed and made president of baseball operations, had to say this about him.
Let me just, who's had a direct experience with Farhan, and said, let me just tell you something about Farhan. First of all, he's a great leader of people. He loves scouting. He loves listening. He loves players, has the highest integrity possible, and he's super competitive. So you put all that together, it's a pretty good combination. And then one other thing, in our conversations, what was especially compelling given the Giants organization, the way we like to present ourselves, is that he had a very much of a values-based approach to management and to the organization and to leadership.
Okay, so I just jotted a couple things down from that statement. Again, that's from Larry Baer talking about Farhan Zaidi when he was trying to sell him to the fan base, right? Okay, so he said Farhan's a leader. Farhan loves scouting. Farhan loves listening. Farhan is a competitor. Farhan, in so many words, likes connecting with players. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go into the personal stuff. I can't really speak on his character as a human being. How many of those things would you say remain true?
Not one of them. You can love them all you want, Evan, but are you good at it? And I think that's where he comes up short.
I think he does.
And I think Larry thought he could not even grow, or maybe he could, he would be able to display those qualities and traits, but just because you love something doesn't mean you're good at it. And Evan, like I said, nobody cares. I saw a guy not work the room, and maybe he was, this was early on, the first half, so it wasn't like he was trying to hide from the masses, but the confidence and the swag and all that, Evan, I don't see it, man.
Well, and that's why when I say I'm not necessarily looking forward to hearing from Farhan, that's kind of what I mean. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. I'm looking forward to seeing if he acts, because he told me that he loves to play meaningful baseball. I don't think the Giants have done that much in his tenure, or enough. Farhan told me at his first press conference that he wants his manager to have, power. I haven't really seen that much either. He's talked about how passionate the fan base was, but then he kind of reverted back on the city a few years later. The Giants should be the best at everything. We've already established that they haven't been the best at everything. So he can tell me everything that he wants, but it's been about the actual showing where the disconnect has been. And I want to dig a little bit deeper into that comment from Larry Baer, because there was one thing that was truthful, and it's a little bit damning. I'll tell you that on the other side. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings in for Matt Steinmetz with Daryl the Guru Johnson. A reminder to join 95.7 The Game at Harding Park Friday, September 6th for the Pettinelli Financial Partners Golf Tournament benefiting the Autism Society, San Francisco Bay Area. You can go to 957thegame.com to learn more. All presented by Atco Pest Control, the Bay Area's locally family-owned pest control company. Also, what's coming up in the game is brought to you by Fremont Bank, celebrating 60 years of full-service banking with no compromises. And that segment was finally brought to you by Chilton Auto Body.